So we're on the cusp of this Sagittarius new moon that's arriving here in, I don't know, 2 days to two-ish, over 2 days. And the Sagittarius moon special. It's special because it's the first syzygy that comes after these two eclipses we just had. And so we're now going to be moving out of eclipse season fully into some really hot energy, into some really kind of dynamic energy. And so I want to talk in this video about the Sagittarius new moon that's coming right up. Okay, great. Glad to be back. Very, very happy to be back in the saddle here. And I wanted to just talk about this syzygy. You know, it's always good to check in with the new and full moons when you're following transiting astrology. I'd say that's high up on my list of suggestions for how to manage and follow and map the ongoing unfoldments of the symbolism, is to check in with new and full moons, because these fuse energy. It locks in energy for 2 weeks. It's like the strobe light of reality is the metaphor I've always used. But here it is. It's going to come on the 23rd, Wednesday, right as we get into Thursday here in Central Europe, only 3 minutes before midnight in Central Europe. So what will happen in America, you'll be in Wednesday afternoon, and down under, you're going to be in the morning. In Asia, you'll be in the morning on Thursday. This syzygy arrives, this new moon, and look at it. You know, the striking thing about it is that Jupiter is going to be in the stationary position. So it's in that position where will be stationing direct. And, you have then four traditional planets in Sagittarius. So that makes 5 traditional planets ruled by Jupiter. It's a major component of this moment is Jupiter. So I'm going to look in this video about Jupiter, what it is, what are the themes of Jupiter. And then, of course, you have Mars retrograde. It's still going. We're not even halfway done with Mars retrograde. I don't know about you, but I've been talking to a lot of folks. I've been feeling myself like, oh, wow, this Mars in Gemini is still here. And I look at my watch and I'm thinking, we've only just started. And this is the nature of a Mars retrograde. They're long, like 74 days. When I added it up, this one's been for about 30. So we have like, what is that, 40 something odd days of just the retrograde. And then you tack on another 2.5 months of Mars still in Gemini. So it's about grinding. That was one of the words I tweeted recently for this, grind. It's a slow grind of this energy of Mars in that same sign. So talk a little bit about that too. But you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 7 traditional planets in mutable signs. And so we're entering into a major energy, an injection of mutability. And that can be destabilizing. You know, mutability, you think about wearing 2 hats. You're taking off one hat and it's not quite off, and then you're getting ready to put that other hat on. You know, playing 2 roles, having 2 jobs. I see a lot of people, there's these things that go around social media. People have 2 full-time jobs. They work remote. I can't imagine that, but that would be mutability. Or if you're changing, right, in between teenage years to adulthood, like that late teens, early 20s period where you're not quite an adult yet, but by all, accounts you are, and it's this weird transition phase, so there's a whole different set of things we can bring up to examine mutability, but just thinking about it as transitioning between 2 zones where you're still kind of one and also now of the other. And so that's a major component. So if you're Mars retrograde, you're grinding in Mars retrograde right now, maybe like these changes that Mars retrograde is bringing you, there some of the new stuff being born. It's clear out of eclipse season. Maybe you've got some new emergences and all of that new stuff's happening, but it's still not quite fully formed or born. Maybe it's like the snake shedding. It's not done shedding the skin. It shed some of the skin, but it's not quite that brand new skin in totality. That's how I would think about this moment in our astrological time. And so it's okay. Give yourself permission to be like, yeah, I'm in process. It's one of my favorite words. Yeah, I'm in process right now. People say, how are you doing? How's your life going? Well, I'm in process. It's been a few years of a process. It's been about 5 years and I'm still in process. No, but, astrologically, we're in process now for the last month or two majorly, and we'll still be in process, right? March 2023 is when this heavy newness is born. So let me keep moving. I like to talk. I don't want to bog us down. Coming in to talk about Sagittarius, bringing in Rudyard, I love to do it, the pulse of life. I wanted to point out here, he talks about He becomes the mythical personage, a solar hero. He becomes the soul of the community. And this is what I wanted to focus on, this idea of the solar hero and then the community. Because remember, Sagittarius is of the fire element, which is a day sign. It's a so-called masculine sign. It's about going out into the world. This is not an energy of insularism or of staying indoors. This is actually an energy of going out and looking at all the people out there. And then having your belief systems, right? Your yearning here, he says, yearning for psychic identification, right? Remember, the sun with Sagittarius is the day triplicity ruler. So if we think about, when we look at Sagittarius, at the daytime, it's a day sign. That sun has a strong tone here when we think about Sagittarius. And the solar component is the selfhood. It's the identity. It's our beliefs. And the sun, there's only 3 signs. They're all fire signs, but the sun has dignity. And that is Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. So it's a solar component that's very important to understand Sagittarius. What we think about ourselves and our identities, and then, of course, our beliefs. Jupiter brings in, he talks about here, the prophet, priests, and theocratic rulers are the managers of that communal energy. And so Sagittarius can very often be when we form our beliefs, when we go out and find others to build around belief sets. And so it's very, very outer world oriented. And I wanted to just make sure we think about that, because in your life right now, that stellium, this new moon, 4 planets in Sagittarius, 3 of those non-moon planets are in Sagittarius, and that stellium's here. I think it could be a great time to reconsider not just like our data, right, with Mars retrograde, but also our beliefs. To the extent the eclipse season has maybe torn away or peeled away some of your ideas about the world, what are you settling in on as a core belief set? And then this might be a great time to go out and find the others or reconnect with people of that similar idea set. So it's just, these are some of the major parts of Sagittarius. Now, the shadow side, of course, is fascistic enforcement of those beliefs. And that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not going to go into that. Now, here's what I asked my AI to do. Build me a Sagittarius. I think I forgot exactly what I said. I think I said Sun in Sagittarius or something like that. But you can see here, look at this beautiful centaur that came, and look how prominent that thigh is. This is the body part that Sagittarius corresponds to in the ancient systems, is the thigh. And I think that that's so apropos for these themes we've been describing of getting out into the world, because the thigh is how we power ourselves as we maneuver, across the landscape, like in this image, or how we walk out into the community, or we lead people, right? We use our legs, and those thighs are very important for powering movement, which is of that fire energy and that Jupiterian solar energy. I like this image. It's got that little kind of sun there hanging, but that prominent thigh is so important. But I just want to come back. It's again, it's not just the thigh, but what do horses do? The lower half is a horse. It allows you to move fast, right? These horses gallop across lands. And then you have a human body. So it's like the powered movement, but for these kind of very human, maybe motivations, which are things like the soul and the contemplations, all these things that humans can do that we're maybe, intellectualize and abstractions, right? We can combine that with a movement and kind of move from a place of clarifying our abstractions and beliefs, just what I was saying earlier. So I love that about the Sagittarius and the centaur. It's embedded right in that Sagittarian symbol, which is this archer, the centaur archer. Okay, let's keep pressing ahead. What does Vedis Fallon say about Jupiter? Remember, I'm saying this is the Jupiter moment. I was calling it Jupiter season on Twitter, but this is the moment of Jupiter. Some of my favorite significations, I just wanted to bring some in here. Not that these are all of them, and that Vedis Fallon isn't, the arbiter of exactly what Jupiter is, but he does have a very nice comprehensive list. Desire, freedom. So the things how we desire freedom. And that's why the religious parts of our community can be important here, because religion's often about controlling desire, right? And it promises freedom from desire, and a lot of these more conservative religions, or it promises to teach us how to transmute our desires into a container that can be benevolent for the community and for other people. That might be a better way of saying it. It's an outlet for desire and passion in a way that can kind of bring this sort of interpersonal and spiritual freedom. That's what religion can do, and spirituality can do at its best. But look here, the sperm, the uterus, and the liver. I wanted to bring the sperm and the uterus in. This is one of the underappreciated components of Jupiter. It's not sex, okay, but it's the sexual reproductive cells. It's the cells of reproduction, the spermatozoa. And I think with the uterus here, we're talking also about the egg. And then the egg, the lining of the uterus and all of the things that are necessary for reproduction. It's the reproductive components of the inner body. And so, what are you producing? What are you generating, right? I remember I talked about engendering in a recent video, but this is about like desire, freedom, making, engendering, and producing in the outer world with others and with community, and the freedom that can bring, right? You find other people, yeah, I like that too. I agree with that. And then you build whole worlds and whole businesses and whole realities together. Can really be a wonderful thing to find people you fit in with and align with. It can be a beautiful, beautiful way. In fact, some people would say for many, that's what is one of the best things in life, finding like-minded people to build in this world with. And that's Jupiter. It's beautiful. It's the political ties, the acquaintances and friendships. That's all here as well. So look for that during this stellium season, this Sagittarius sun season, with this new moon there kicking off and punctuating this energy over the next 2 weeks. And, it's going to be very, very strong. So here it is again. You can see Mercury and Venus together. Look at that. And there's supportive aspects to Saturn. So we can rely and support on Saturn here in Aquarius, those deep structures. Jupiter can sort of encourage us to go maybe even farther with our ideas and our desires for freedom. So where they say, without the desire for something, it can't be done. Desire precedes the doing often. You got to want to do it, and then you're motivated. That might be motivation. Could be a great way to think about Sagittarius too. The kind of inner fire for the action. To think about it and contemplate it as we're acting. Now, the one thing I want to say while we're still talking about this chart here, is just this Mars retrograde. See, this is the fly in the ointment during this Sagittarian moment, this Sagittarius season moment, and this new moon, because Mars retrograde in Gemini is opposing everything here, and it will be opposing. All of these things will make exact oppositions to Mars over this next few weeks, and so when you have an opposition, my favorite way to delineate it is that you don't get unrestrained Sagittarius this Sagittarius season. We're not in that place where it's like the pure Sagittarian. In fact, the more we push out and build and go into the community, all the things I just talked about, the more we're going to have to confront what the Mars in Gemini is doing right now. So the opposition is an aspect of confrontation. It's like playing chicken on the road. And so you have to be aware of what you're opposing, and then you maneuver based on the maneuverings of what is in opposition. I know that's a strange way of saying it. Basically, you have to consider Mars is the short of it. And so that this is coming here, it's being modulated and formed by this Mars retrograde in Gemini. And I'll come back to this chart. I actually want to skip to this slide. It's all about social media right now with Mars retrograde in Gemini. Twitter is being destroyed. People are going to Mastodon. And that's temporary, I think, with Twitter. Maybe we'll see. It's unknown. I think by March, we'll understand if Twitter is going to stay alive. But basically, this Mars retrograde in Gemini has been a whole thing about what are you doing with your social media life? People are reconsidering, rebuilding, leaving things, abandoning things. They're angry. They're all of it. And so you can see how when we go back to these themes of the Sagittarian, it's maybe this Sagittarius season will be about, building your whole Mastodon stuff. And by the way, I'll say this here, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be on Twitter until the end. And if it dies, I don't plan on going anywhere. I have a Substack that I will be promoting a lot soon when I get my first article out there. So it may be there, but I'll be there. But YouTube, that's where you'll find me. Just come here to the YouTube channel because I'll keep making YouTube content. I think Twitter's going to hang around, but you can see everybody's building. It's this idea of new building out with your community in spaces that you really like. Mastodon is the perfect example of that. I've seen that growing. And so you've got also what's the one I talked about before? Tumblr. People are going back there, but the idea is that it's a perfect example of how it's not just rebuilding a community, the passions of Sagittarius, where it's having to then deal with these breakdowns in social media. And this is just one particular example. Of course, in your own life, this could be totally different based on houses of your chart, but it's just this kind of example of the opposition in action. where the newness that comes from this new moon is based on what's this Mars retrograde and its wreckage. And the social media thing is a perfect example. Okay. Final thing I wanted to point out here, December 2nd, 2022. I wanted to just give you a chart to contemplate. This is going to come about a week after, 9 days or so after this new moon. It'll be the last moon with Jupiter in Pisces, with the moon and Pisces there together. Look at that. Of course, Neptune is there, and you've got this last moment. And so I want you to consider the Piscean Jupiter, the truth. Maybe this is more the internal truth side of Jupiter, because it's the Piscean, the cleansing, the healing, the forgiving, all of those things. And just keep that in mind. I've broken down in some recent videos, like the dates of when Jupiter has been in Pisces, a little bit in 2021, a lot in the first half of 2022, and then here a little bit at the end of the 2022. But this is the kind of final moment, maybe these kind of final prayers of gratitude for what Jupiter and Pisces has done to the Pisces sector of your chart and to the benefits that may have brought you. So keep that in mind. It's a Pisces moon. What I've got the Friday, December 2nd, very early in the morning. Looks like that's probably Wednesday, Thursday as well. So like the 30th and the 1st, 30th of November, 1st of December. Keep that on your radar for these kind of prayerful Piscean moments. Even music, singing, right? This is all Venus too, because it's Pisces. And Venus is in Sagittarius. So using that art to kind of sing the truth, right? That's why so many religions, by the way, they're a lot of chanting. I live in an area where there's calls to prayer 5 times a day. It's so beautiful. I love hearing it every day. These calls to prayer. I'm just so happy that's part of the collective vibe because it really does celebrate the divine in a kind of quite beautiful way. All right. So let me stop share. And I'll just say goodbye here. You know, it's great to do this video. I wish you all a great Sagittarius new moon. Enjoy it. You know, there's this kind of refreshment, the birth of post-eclipse season life. And I hope you get some good ideas about your beliefs and community and the actions you want to be doing. And keep in mind, you're still waiting and navigating that Mars retrograde in Gemini. We will talk very, very soon. Take care.